students, ASC is back again with a webinar on a very crucial topic for econ students. Amid the rise of empiricism, the economists are engaging more and more with different kinds of data sets. And for that purpose, learning softwares have become immensely crucial for excelling in research as well as in other jobs for econ. Today we have Mr. Hammad Farooqui, sir. I will start with introducing him. He is an academic associate at Azim Premji University. He has completed his bachelor's from Delhi University and followed by MSc in Economics from University of Warwick in 2020. And he is currently teaching my batch Stata, and he is in my contact the most knowledgeable person in Stata and R. He is kind of the backbone of our econ department in the data stuff, and I'm hoping that we will get to learn a lot from him. The idea of this webinar is he will discuss the importance and the ways to learn some of the softwares, as well as the need of the softwares for econ students. Now I will talk briefly about the club itself. I have founded this club with some of my friends back in 2021, just immediately after the lockdown, to organize some webinars on wide-ranging topics for our exposure. And so far, we have organized somewhere around 15 webinars. And this is kind of, again, a revival webinar. And we are hoping to organize much more in the coming days. Just one guideline for the participants. We have now closed the in-call messages, and we request all of you to not unmute yourself just for the smooth processing of this webinar. And now I hand it over to Hammad sir, our guest speaker.
So I'm sharing my screen. Just tell me if the slides are changing.
Yeah, sure.
Are they changing?
Yeah.
Are they changing? I couldn't hear you.
They are changing.
Cool. Cool. Thanks for that. Cool. So I'll start with briefly introducing the role of these softwares, what is econometrics, how these statistical softwares help us, and do a brief comparison between R, Stata, and Python. Because I believe at least at this stage, you must have knowledge of at least two of these softwares. And then I'll talk about some access to data sources, the basic data sets that you can take to practice, and the learning resources that are available online. So in econometrics, you must have done modeling, fixed effects models to eliminate unobserved heterogeneity. Forecasting. Forecasting is used by financial people, so you predict the future outcomes. And the economic policy analysis. So you do an intervention in one phase, for example, an impact evaluation, and you try to know its impact on other things. So in theory, you must have read DID and regression discriminatory designs. So for those theory, we cannot do data text tasks manually, right? So these softwares enable us to execute certain things. And I always believe that the exposure at an early stage is very essential to learn these skills because with my experience, I believe with age, you tend to slow down with the learning process. So the mostly three softwares are used online these days by economists. One is R, Data, and Python. So I'll discuss the strengths and the weaknesses of each of these softwares. So the biggest advantage I believe that R and Python have over Stata is that they are free and they are open source. And plus, if you are stuck somewhere, you can easily get any help online. Whereas for Stata, you need a commercial license, but you can get a bootleg version of it online. It's not a big issue getting a pirated copy of Stata. The econometrics part. So Stata is like mostly used in academia. So you have very precise and good econometrics commands for it. And for Stata, if you're stuck online, there's something called Stata list. And there you can post your questions along with your codes and your econometrics dots, and people like Woolrich can answer there. Whereas R and both Python have got good packages, but the coding is quite tough to write there. But Python has recently found a space in doing simulation studies. So, and simulation studies is not my core area, so I cannot talk much about it. If you want to make graphs and all into customizing the graph, make fancy graphical designs, then I believe R and Python have an advantage over Stata. Way better advantage. Stata, you cannot reproduce your documents to other people. For example, someone doesn't have Stata and you give him your do file and all, or your codes, it's tough for the other person to replicate your results. So that's why, like, outside of academia, industry prefers R and Python. And there's something called R Markdown that you can just see your results after running your code. So when it comes to learning, Stata is much user friendly and it requires very much less coding. So if you fear of writing lot of codes or you get like discouraged when you come across errors, start with Stata. And once you have started with Stata, R can be a little bit easier. That's what people have told me, and that's what I also believe. And Python is kind of a very different thing. And the cons of R is like it's got a very limited ability for specialized tasks. So unless you are like very a big code writer or a big data science nerd, then it's helpful for writing specialized limit advanced stuff in R. Otherwise, I think so Stata is the best software to use. But the question now arises here is like which two softwares to learn technically because you won't have the time to learn any software, right? Any all the three softwares. So if you want to be in academia, then Stata is must. If not, I would say go with Python because both Python allows you to use R and Stata interface in its console. I haven't used that, but I know some people who use it. So you can run Stata functions in Python itself. So I would say if you are starting, if you are getting into statistical softwares, I would say learn Python. That would be my suggestion to everyone. Access to data sources. So if you are going into economics research, so mostly all the data sets will be available in .dta file. So that's the data format, .dta. And .dta format can easily be opened in R and Python by loading the correct libraries. And by libraries mean packages. So all these three softwares requires you to have knowledge of certain packages that help in regression analysis. Learning resources. So I've include three books which I think you should use them if you are planning to learn it. So one is Microeconometrics Methods and Applications by Cameron and Trivedi. So this book actually gives you the econometric interpretation as well as what's happening in the code. Again, you can find this easily online, this book as well. And I kind of learned data using this book only. Introduction to Econometrics with R. It's just for econometric applications. So if you want to move into more data science, there's a particular book, Intro to R with Data Science. You can have a look at that. And the third book, if you want to go into Python, I would say start with stats models, econometric and statistical modeling with Python. And there are other online resources as well. So Coursera, you'll find data science courses for economists, and I know MIT for sure does an online course that covers R. But on Coursera, you won't find any Stata courses. Similarly, in edX, again, MIT teaches you econometrics courses here, but you'll come across a Stata and R course. That's really good, and they provide discounts to people who are coming from developing countries. That's one thing you can always look at. Udemy has some good courses for time series analysis, but Udemy should always be your backup option when it comes to these things. And then on YouTube, there's a really good YouTube channel, Econometrics Academy for Stata. And for our studio, there's a channel called Econometrics, Causality, and Coding with Dr. Nick Klein. That's really good if you want to learn both econometrics and coding. Online communities and forums. So once you are starting with it, you should always become a part of some online community. For example, Stack Overflow is all in one community. So if you're stuck with R doubts, you're stuck with Stata doubts or Python or even LaTeX, you can just post a question there along with some examples of your data, and people almost instantly reply back to you with solutions. GitHub. So GitHub is where people put their personal codes and projects, and you can download those projects and just replicate the results. And replicating the results is always a good way to learn coding itself. Documentation and manuals. So there's always a coding guide that comes with it. For example, it will say help in Stata, for example, help summary. You will get an example. So what your code should be. So each function, each command has a help package, the official documentation, which always gives you the example how your code should be written. And this is where you should also like, if you're stuck somewhere, you should always use the help function. Again, webinars and workshops is a very good way to learn things. So on Twitter, there are always people advertising key workshops will happen on particular days. The workshops will cover certain econometrics topics and solutions. You should always sign up for it. Usually they don't provide you access to a licensed software, but again, if you have it from any other sources, you can always attend it. And again, you'll get a discount because you are from a developing country. So you can pool in your money and a bunch of you can sit together and just learn those things. Yep. So I wanted more time for question ask for around 30 minutes. Yeah. So if you have any questions, any doubts, you can ask me right now.
Uh, Thank you so much, Hamad, for very inciting and very to the point presentation. Uh, I would like to reiterate two things. First of all, if you know like little bit of coding, little bit of the software itself, then the best way to learn is try replicating reports, try replicating uh, the existing research. You will get codes uh, of their work. For example, Nishit Prakash is an economist and a professor at Northwestern University. He has uploaded all his uh, do files and packages and the data sets, and also a guide to how to replicate in his website. And there are plenty of other people who have done the same. And at the same time, uh, I also want to again stress the fact that there are a lot of webinars, and if I'm not wrong, Hamad, Stata also organize some free webinars.
Yeah, they do so. And the
Organization.
Stata's
Yeah.
official channel on YouTube also gives you very good
Yeah,
insight on how to run commands.
indeed. The official, I've learned a lot of things from their official YouTube channel uh, of both R and Stata. And I think in June or July, the R, after they have renamed it as POSIT, they've also organized a conference, R conference, and they were discussing the new packages that they have brought. Look for those things, and they have uploaded all the slides in their website and all the coding manuals, and even for the markdown, their guide to markdown and Koto. Now I'm opening up for the Q&A session. If you have a doubt, you can raise your hand and then we'll call you. You can ask a question directly to Haman.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, Himanshu, go ahead. Feel free to ask.
Okay. Uh, for today's webinar, I'll be asking questions during this, and I'm excited to engage with the speaker, Hammad Bhai. First of all, thank you for providing your valuable time and sharing this valuable information with us. Uh, and I'll request the audience members, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to use the chat box. I'll do my best to represent the audience interest. So now I'll be asking the first question. Okay. Hammad, could you please provide insights into how statistical software can help economics students with data visualization and presentation, which are often essential for academic reports and presentations?
Can you repeat your question again? There's a lot of echo from your side.
Okay. Um, could you please provide insights into how statistical software can help economics students with data visualization and presentation, which are often essential for academic reports mainly?
I still couldn't
When
get
I
you. Can you
cannot
type?
hear you.
Yeah, can you type in the chat box? I can take it from there.
Okay, I try once more. Am I audible now?
There's a lot of echo when you are speaking.
Just wait, I'm typing.
Meanwhile, someone else can ask the question.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Hammad sir. Am I clearly audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So, since you are an academic associate in Azim Premji University, what role exactly does statistical software plays in your teaching methods, and how do you help students build confidence in using these tools? We all are just students, and most of us are in first year, second year, and all of us are third year. So, an insight would be really valuable for us.
Yeah. So, for example, when you do your say regressions or the OLS, right? In theory, you know, right? It will minimize the residual sum of squares, and you'll get a output. It should, in theory, give you y hat, right?
Yes, sir.
So, so it bridges the gap. So what you do in theory, the software will do that for you on a particular data set.
Yes, sir.
For example, if you want to answer research questions, for example, if providing, if providing anyone, say, with healthcare benefit affects reduces their health expenditure. So you will have your Y will be your health expenditure, and if they get access to healthcare benefit or not, will be your regressors. That would be the X's on the other side of the equation. So the statistical software will run OLS for you, and you will get the results. Because with data, you cannot do these calculations, right? Manually, what we solve by hand.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, am I audible now?
Uh,
Hello, am I audible
yes,
now?
Himanshu, you go first. Yeah.
Okay. The question is, what advice do you have for students who may not have prior experience with the statistical software and just are beginning their journey into the world of economics and data analysis? What advice would you have for those students?
Uh, so
For
the
absolute beginners. Not even the RCAM that you have taken for us.
uh,
Yes, yes, yes.
the best way to start is go for a beginner's YouTube channel. That's the best way to start with it. Or, for example, if you have got Stata, so Stata has got built-in data sets. Just four variable data sets. Very small, very short. Just browse through them. Just have a look at the data. Try to come up with things you want to do. And once in your, just and write down what you want to do. It doesn't matter if it's very complex, it's very big. And then Google it. Say you want to do this in Stata. And the first thing that you come across would be a Stata list answer. Get the code and try to do that with your variables. It's perfectly fine if you get errors at a beginner stage. It's perfectly fine. But the question is you should think what you want to do with data. And if you start thinking, you will automatically find the solutions online.
So, if I'm not wrong, Hamad, you're saying that you should first know what you are looking for, and you must start with some sort of idea of or some sort of code map that you
Y-
want to start with this. And
Yes, so for example, if you look at the car use data, that's the most common built-in Stata data set, for example. And you can have a look at it, like maybe mileage and whether it depends on a foreign or a domestic produced car. Then you know, right? You know what you want to look at, right? Then you can Google this or maybe chat GPT it. So that's where you can start at it. So just that's what I always say, have a look at the data set, become familiar with it, just browse it, and just write down whatever questions you have in mind on that data set, what you want to answer. And Google has answer to everything. That's what I tell everyone, even at the class. Like Google is the thing to
yeah, and
perfect answer to a question.
yeah, and understanding the data set is also very essential, especially like later if you will use the government data sets, large data sets, and
Yeah. So
understanding the data
that's
set
why
would.
start with small data sets, four
Yeah,
variable data sets.
hope that answers your question, Himanshu.
Sir, can I ask?
Yes, Ashwin, please.
Sir, I just want to know what was your strategy, Ahmad's strategy? Because as of now, we are just dealing with our major academics, and the quantitative stuffs are very okay. But when it comes to when it comes to this application using this statistical software, I just begin with Excel because. I think there were a large number of formulas even in Excel that I didn't I didn't practice before, so I just started with Excel, and I just know some kind of things like some kind of very basic C related things because my brother is in the IT domain. But I don't know from where to start when it comes to this purely statistical things for this economics application. Also, I just want to know from where we will be able to get this data sets also. So will you please say what was your strategy so that you started thinking outside the regular academic curriculum? I think you have just completed your masters, right? So when did you start this trying out this application, this statistical software and all? I think my question is clear.
So just
So
to clarify, Hamad has completed his master's in 2020. He's my super senior. Hamad, you can answer the question.
Uh,
so
okay, I think
So I wasn't like I was just thrown into it. So in my master's we had to do an econometrics project and that was it. There was no I couldn't say no to it and then I thought I was just pushed into it I would say. But my one thing that really helped me a lot, I used to read a lot of papers beforehand. And I was kind of aware ki what was happening in the economics literature and what gaps could be bridged. So I had an idea ki what research question I wanted to ask. From there, I just started downloading the data sets, that too in Excel. I cleaned my first data set in Excel only, and then I imported it to Stata, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we all start with Excel only.
Yep, everyone starts with Excel. So if you're fine with Excel, download the data set in Excel, whatever data you want to create, just do it there. And then take it to Stata or Python, any other statistical software. And for example, if you generated summary statistics in Excel, try to generate that in Stata or Python or any other statistical software. That's a good way to bridge the gap. So whatever you are doing in Excel, do that in the other software because you'll be familiar with the data, I'm sure, once you are using it on Excel. And you mentioned data sources as well, right? Where to get
Yes,
data.
sir.
So the best data set, in my opinion, to practice would be if you're looking at big data sets, start with IHDS, the Indian one. Take the household survey round, so it will have around 40,000 observations. But if you find it too big or challenging, so they are World Bank indicators, so you can download them.
And the World Bank indicators fortunately comes in Excel format only.
Mm.
So you will start with Excel only.
I hope it answers your question. Have you got any other doubt?
No, sir, it's clear. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, you are.
Basi.
Sir, my name is Basimin Padar. I am from Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, my question is regarding the data, regarding data status. Sir, what type of data sets can be used in Stata for regression analysis? Should we need conversion in order so that we go for regression, or we can use the rough data status where we are dealing with the data or with the big data sets like we can extract the data from ASI, sir? Can we need conversion or we can use rough data status?
Uh, so, so I would say for raw data sets, for example, by raw data set you mean in text file.
Sir, not sir. There are various types of data sets like cross-sectional, time series, panel, balanced, unbalanced panel. Sir, what type of data set Stata deals with
Oh, it can handle all
mainly?
these things. Yep. So it has got special commands for time series data sets, special functions for panel data sets, and
Yes, sir.
cross-sectional can easily be done with fixed effects and all. I mean, Stata and R have got all these packages to handle such
Yes, sir.
data.
Sir, while extracting data sets from the ASI, there are large, huge data sets having millions of observations. Sir,
Hmm.
can we delete some of the variables from that data set while using Stata?
I mean, so I've worked with the SI dataset on Stata, and the dataset itself comes in Stata format, and you have to reshape it, but you'll have a large number of variables, that's for sure. You can drop them using the drop command, the variables that you don't need.
Yes, sir. Sir, while dealing with the regression, sir, when we fall in the problem of endogeneity, what are the solutions in order to overcome the endogeneity problem?
So you can go with fixed effects. So there's a command in there's a package in R called FEOLS, that's fixed effects fast ones. In
Sir,
Stata,
I
you
am
have
mainly dealing with, sir, I am sorry to inconvenience,
oh,
sir. I am mainly dealing with Stata.
Okay, so there's xtreg for fixed effects, there's reg hdfe, areg. You can use any three commands. So xtreg, if you have declared your dataset as panel, then you can run it.
Yes, yes, sir.
Otherwise, use areg or reg hdfe.
Yes, sir.
But you
Sir,
may
what
not
are the
require
mod?
an instrumental variable if the endogeneity problem is very big.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, can we use instrumental variable in order to overcome from the problem of heterogeneity?
Yes, you can. But
Sir,
but your instrument shouldn't affect your y variable directly. It should only
yes, sir.
affect
Yes.
one of your x variable.
Sir, when there, sir, sometimes it seems the problem like causality or reverse causality. Sir, what are the solutions in order to overcome from such a problem?
IV is the trend these days.
So basically, the idea is that all of the solution and your understanding of the problem itself will come from theory, and you have
Yeah.
to do these things using the softwares. IV, it's simple in state. I mean, I have been taught by
Sir,
Hamad recently.
sir, sir, I am new in this field. I have read the
Yeah,
econometrics from last year. I am trying to make these things stronger in order to go to the market because in market there is a lot of competition now. I mean market mean here job market. Economic
yeah,
students already know what market is.
yeah, that's true. I would request Hamad to also talk about the prospects after a bachelor's. So basically, the curriculum, I don't know exactly about the 4 years bachelor's. In most of the public universities, the students are only exposed to Excel, that to like at max simple linear regressions, and they do some visualization as well, but not to R. And then in masters, they are taught little bit of uh, like my batch in AMU, they are taught EVUs and they're taught little bit of R and little bit of Stata. But the questions, someone has asked one question, but the like once we start learning, we because there are a lot of things to learn in R or Stata. Can you tell us like the at least the basic minimum and what is the average level of skills that you should build by the end of your undergrad, in your opinion, and by the end of the masters?
So not to like discourage anyone, but I feel like in India the econ market is still very close after your bachelor's. They usually prefer that you have a master's degree. Yeah, and by your master's, you should be familiar with the econometrics concepts. Like if you want to go into empirical research, data is must for me. So they usually put data slash r, but the data set that they'll give you for your data assignment, it will be in data format. And a good thing is like some places you can find the data test online of certain companies. For example, JPAL one was available online on Reddit somewhere. Someone has leaked their data test. It's a good way to have a look at that. So they usually check whether you're comfortable with basic data cleaning. Can you identify the ID variable, the time variables that exist, what regression has to be run on the data set, generate basic summary statistics or descriptive stats like generate a graph, so scatter plot with the line of best fit, what's the pattern looking right. These things, so you should be definitely low at master's level. And if you want company names, I can suggest some good places you can already start to look at. There's one precision development. Don't people from India usually ignore it? It's the Michael Kramer's Foundation, Precision Development. You can have a look at it. Then there's Good Business Lab. JPAL is also there. And institutions like APU, ISP and all, they hire a lot of research associates. But knowing your ID variable, merging data sets, appending them, and econometric concepts. These are the main things you should know.
Thank you so much, Hammad, for answering this
Oh,
question.
there's a
I
question
think,
in the chat
yes,
box.
sir.
I think so. We can take that as well. So,
Yeah. So the question is, what kind of level or software do the corporate companies expect uh, for entry-level positions and data analysis from a master's with a student in econ? Yeah, Hamad, you would like to comment
if
on
you
this?
look at financial stuff, I think so. That's more forecasting, vector autoregressive, ARIMA models. A little knowledge of time series would be better for them. I'm not a very time series person. I kind of hate it. Arthur will tell you that.
Yeah, that's
But
true. Hamad is more like a panel person.
yeah, but time series information is must, I would say.
Yeah, and Hamad, I seriously think that so one of our professor back in AMU used to emphasize a lot on econometrics and used to say that learning econometrics will give you bread and butter. And I think that his statement is incomplete because as long as you're not adding softwares with econometrics, it won't help.
You
And
you need
the
to apply
RA
to real world, right?
and the RA market, the RA positions in econ, they're increasing. Like it's like an ever increasing market. I don't see any downfall, and I think that they're also like competitive in their pays as compared to corporate. Not like higher than them, but they're also decently competitive.
It's it's becoming saturated. I mean, there's a lot of competition now. I mean,
Yeah, that is also
it's
true.
not increasing at that rapid rate. So I
Yeah,
know like masters students who are doing some work under PhD students, which is not that good, I would say.
yeah, that's like much low paid.
Yeah. So the competition is like pushing people towards low paying jobs at master's level. There was
Yeah,
someone raised his hand or her hand.
yeah, Lakshya, you can ask.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laksh. So I would like to ask a question. Could you please share some real-world example of how statistical software has been instrumental in your own research or teaching experiences in economics? Thank you.
Okay, that's so. For example, I'll start with the IV class that I taught Atif, and I use an econ history data set. For example, when the part when the East Bengal was getting created into Bangladesh, there was a lot of inflow of migrants from here and there, and that belt is quite involved in jute cultivation, right? So we looked at whether the inflow of migrants from East Bengal to our West Bengal led to an increase in jute cultivation or jute being sold more because it's a labor intensive product. So there we used our IV regression and we instrumented distance of the border from Kolkata as an instrument for the inflow of migrants. So that's one example where it was really helpful.
Okay, thank you.
And Hamad, you can also talk about like stuffs that you do, like the research project that you are engaged in. And those are more interesting. And also your master's thesis, the causal question,
Yeah, so
whatever
currently
it
I'm
was.
doing a project on, I would say, labor productivity and pollution. So I've merged several ASI round data set annual survey of industries with the CBCB, the Central Pollution Control Board's reports on pollution. So I'm trying to look at whether the golden quadrilateral construction led to an increase in labor productivity and whether increase in labor productivity led to an increase or decrease in pollution. Overall, I'm trying to observe whether the Kuznets U-shaped curve is being observed in India or not. So
Interesting.
for that, I'm also using satellite data, the night light as a proxy for GDP.
Oh yeah, this is this is very interesting. So when we see night lights from higher uh, terrain, or let's say from mountainous region, we kind of feel a different kind of delight. But economist people feel that no, this can be used as a proxy for GDP growth.
Yeah, especially there's a really good paper that looks at it. So in authoritative or dictatorships, they find the GDP numbers are wrong, usually economists, and they use night lights as a proxy for it, and they find they tend to overestimate their GDP numbers.
Yeah.
Yep, there's a race now.
I'm sure you're not talking about Ireland.
No, not India.
Yes, Utkarshni, you want to ask me?
Hello, Hammad sir. It's good to have you on board. This is Mansi, and I do have one question actually. Could you provide some insights into the broader applications of statistical software beyond the academic settings, and how mastering these tools can open the door to diverse career opportunities in economics and related fields? I hope my made my question clear.
So I assume you mean corporate world, right? Or working at a think tank?
Yeah, the corporate actually.
Oh, so if you're going into corporate world, I would say Python is the thing to learn these days. And it's mostly related to data mining and a little bit of machine learning as well. K-means, hierarchical clustering and all, which I'm also not quite very well familiar with these techniques. So you'll have to look at data science and software. That would be the right thing to do. Yeah, if you are going to corporate world, yeah, mixing stats
Uh,
with data science is the perfect way to go about.
all right, thank you. One more question actually.
Hmm.
What are the common challenges that economic students may encounter when statistical software, and what strategies can help them overcome these challenges?
You'll come across a lot of errors, red boxes, red lines.
The biggest challenge is red line. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's completely fine to get them. That's what I think. If you're getting red lines, you're doing something, and doing something is very important. The first thing you should do is always Google them up. And trust me, the solutions are always there on Google. If you have done it, people have also come across this error. And again, Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange. That's one center or one community where you post your queries, you can always get an answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Himanshi, you want to ask more question?
Hello, bhai. Hello, sir. Sir, as you study from a foreign universities as well, so the question is, I'm sure there are many people here who will apply for a foreign university after their graduation years. So the question is, how essential are software skills for a master's degree in economics from United Kingdom or from any foreign university?
So when I applied, I didn't know any statistical software, so they usually overlook it, but they actually assume you must have done something in your undergrad.
It is also partly true for APU, I'm telling you.
Yep, so private universities, they teach you all these things and they assume you must have done it in your undergrad. So you should, that's why you should at least learn one software before going to master's, any software. And there you have the flexibility for your thesis. You can use any software you like there.
I think, Ahmad, once you learn any software, I mean, you have uh, suggested that it's better to start with Stata and then you can learn R or Python very easily. I think even if you just learn one software, learning the other becomes very easy. You just know what to modify. You once you have that computational logic in your head, you just want to know what command should I change.
Yep, you just know what you need to do in your head.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why I always
exactly.
say write down what you want
Yeah.
to do at an essential stage. There's a
Yes, so
question here.
question.
So, since most of us would like to go in research and teaching as well, and you are the academic associate in APU, so could you please share some real world examples of how statistical software have been instrumental in your teaching and research experiences?
I mean, literally, like all the work I do now is based on statistical softwares because all the research questions, big data sets, to get the results what we want, we need to use statistical software. So it's like I sometimes like forget the math behind it, so I have to like reread the math because you know that software will give you that result, right? Will implement that econometric concept. So it's it's the must use thing. So you'll end up using spending more time on statistical software than reading the math towards the end.
Especially if you are pursuing thesis or dissertation. That that is how it
Any
works.
in any research job as well. Because for research you need a software, you'll have big data sets. So you'll spend time correcting your errors, preparing the data set for the final analysis. That's the main issue.
Yeah. I think most of the research these days in econ involve data sets. It's no longer the HAT or theoretical things anymore, except for HAT, which I think Hamad is not a big fan of.
HET is fine at bachelor's level, but not at master's. At master's, you need to be exposed to empirical stuff, the mainstream.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, Guys, do we have more questions? Uh, Guys, we're in the final moment of the webinar. If you have more questions, please feel free to ask. I think mostly the undergrad students have joined. Mm,
So I wanted to do one thing after this.
yes.
Perhaps the email thread, I'll share some of the stuff, this data and art stuff from where you can start at an early stage. So some of my lecture notes, the early ones, how to get started with it. And you guys can practice that, sit together. Atif has done it. Pretty sure he'll help you out with it as well if
Yeah,
you
I'm
get
there
stuck.
to I'm there
But
to
I
help.
think, yeah, but
Yes, sir.
coding should be done in groups. That's what I always believe. So I'll share it on that email thread and start with that. And I'll share the slides as well. So the slides have got embedded links to the various YouTube channels and all. So at least you guys will have some base to start with. Create scatter plots, generate some variables and all. I couldn't demonstrate it because it would have taken a lot of time demonstrating it. But
Yeah, I think we also use your slides only for most of our thesis work. We, we know that somewhere you have taught us this thing, and then we go back to your slides week wise, or and then we find the commands and then we use.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
I'll share that. Yeah.
yeah, that would be really helpful. Guys, do we have any more questions? If not, then we can conclude.
Just asking how many of you have access to data by any chance? You can just raise your hand or just type in chat box.
No response so
No.
far. I know one or two people with whom I have shared this data. The
Okay.
cracked version.
R and Stata have an inbuilt Python function. So if you know Python, you are pretty much set. So you can do Stata cleaning in Python interface also. So If you start with Python, I would say. A little intermediate level. So I would say start with the basics. I mean, for any statistical software, you need to have an intermediate knowledge, I would say. So start with the basics, reach the intermediate level, and then learn another language, I would say. Intermediate level is quite important. Just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
be beginner at all the three. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that you can do with all your efforts that you will be putting in learning all these. Uh, as we see that there are no more questions, uh, we would like to invite Mansi to conclude and present word of thanks.
Um, all right. Am I audible again?
Yeah, yeah, Mansi.
So, dear esteemed guests, club members, and fellow economic enthusiasts, on the behalf of Economics Club, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Hammad Farooqui, sir, for gracing us with their invaluable insights and wisdom for today's enlightening webinar. Your profound expertise and passion for the subjects have truly enriched our understanding and inspired us to delve deeper into the realm of economic thoughts. Your thought provoking discourse on statistical methods and statistical software has not only broadened our horizon but also ignited a spark of curiosity and motivation within each of us. Your articulate presentation and engaging uh, feelings have left an indelible mark on our minds, nurturing a deeper appreciation for the complex dynamic of global economy. We are sincerely appreciate of the time and effort you dedicated to enlightening us and sharing your wealth of knowledge. Your commitment for fostering intellectual growth and fostering a deeper understanding of statistical software is truly commendable and serves a guiding light for all of us. Thank you for illuminating presentation and for being guiding force in our pursuit of knowledge and excellence. We look forward to a opportunity to welcome you back in the future and continue learning from your remarkable expertise. Thank you. Regards, AESC, AMU Economics Students Club. Thank you once again.
So thank you guys for attending it, and I'll mail the some of the essential stuff to the email thread. It's fine, right? So
Sure.
that's right.
Yeah,
Sure, I'll do that.
thank you, Hammad.
Okay, bye bye.